3 billion taxpayer dollars were spent in the pursuit of creating so-called environmentally friendly mail carriers. Now, this is where 3 billion of our taxpayer dollars went. This right here. Now, they say that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, but nobody is beholding any damn beauty in this monstrosity right here. Stevie Wonder don't see beauty in this, right? And yet $3 billion went to, now maybe it wouldn't be problematic if they were actually able to, I don't know, create a few tens of thousands of these mail carriers with $3 billion. But no, that's not the case. Because when you give a politician your money, they misuse it. They do not have to be accountable with their accounting. And so you end up with 93 cars built within that budget. They promised to make a few thousand, but ended up only creating 93. And what does the government do? They applaud it because it's not their money. Now, this is one of the main reasons why I argue for business people being more involved in politics. True business people, people who have made millions, if not billions of dollars through the creation of services or products in the actual marketplace, in the private sector. And this new administration is the first administration where I see genuine business people who have made their way from the ground up or got some seed capital in whatever means, right? We all love to talk about, oh, well, Donald Trump was born into a rich family and he had millions of dollars to start with. Yeah, he took a few million and turned it into a few billion. Do the math on that. If I gave you $1 and you turn that into 10, you are an impressive human being. If I give you $1 million, you turn it into $1 billion, you are an equally impressive being. Unfortunately, most people don't know how to turn $1 into 10, let alone take $1 million to $1 billion. So I don't want to hear that argument from most of these folks. Let me see the business that you ran. You know, most people can't run a lemonade truck, or a lemonade stand, or a damn taco truck. And they have the audacity to talk about somebody getting a few million and creating a multiple $billion company. Go to them lottery winners, go to them athletes, and see them 2-3 years after that money comes in and see where they're at. See them after retirement, see where their money's at. So I digress. My point is, we're now stepping into an age which I am so excited for, because I know that at the very least, individuals who have run companies, run businesses, they understand the principle of return on investment. A politician doesn't, because a politician is paid for their position, right? So they're paid to convince the masses to get them elected, and then their paycheck comes from us. And they don't have to deliver, right? So they can just continue to do nothing, which is what many of them do, or even worse than nothing in the case of like the Gavin Newsom's and all these sorts of politicians. They get to do nothing or worse than nothing and continue to siphon money into their own personal pockets in many cases. They get to give hundreds of billions of dollars to warring countries while the population is struggling, while there are floods in this very own country. They go out into other countries and give them money for their flood victims with your own money. And so a business person understands the principle of, I have to take this dollar and I have to duplicate this dollar. And if my business is inefficient and I'm not getting results, that's not going to work. I will be out of business soon. And so I want to get into this clip where I forget this dude's name. I know my pops watches his podcast. It's called the All In Podcast. It's a business-centered, like Silicon Valley startup type of podcast. But I want to get into this clip because, again, I believe that our people perish for lack of knowledge or wisdom or understanding. And so the more we understand, the more potential that we have to actually take back control of our own lives and to build our lives up. That's my intention and my purpose. Somebody said, oh, all you do is just talk down on black people all day. No, all I do all day long is do my best to take somebody from a victimhood mentality into one of prosperity, into one of innovation, into one of productivity, into one of a builder. Instead of being destructive, to be constructive. That is my entire purpose. That is why I do what I do, and that's why I exist. Simple as that is a simple reason for my existence. To bring those who listen from a place of I'm a victim to I am a victor. Simple as that. So let's get into it.
I think this is the first time that I can remember in modern history, at least, that I've been in the United States and following US politics, where such an enormous number of business people have been motivated to come and work inside of the administration.
Chamath over on the All In podcast was talking about that and referenced how the Democrats need to learn because maybe competency in government isn't the craziest thing.
Here's an interesting tweet that I saw. Nick, can you just share it with the guys?
Oh, net worth of each one.
Now, the reason why it was interesting to me was not the net worth per se, but I think this is the first time that I can remember in modern history, at least, that I've been in the United States and following US politics, where such an enormous number of business people have been motivated to come and work inside of the administration. And I think that it creates this very interesting.
And even like positions such as the treasurer. To think that you would have somebody who is working as a treasurer who has not been a hedge fund manager does not make sense. I want every single one of my treasurers or the head of the treasury to be somebody who ran a business where they managed multis of billions, if not trillions of dollars. That's who I want running that part of my company. Not, or my government, which really is a business, is a corporation at the end of the day. Not the individual who is giving me these airy-fairy promises of all these wonderful things they're going to do, and they have been a lifelong politician, like your Nancy Pelosi's and your Elizabeth Warren, your Pocahontas's, your Barack Hussein Obama's, lifelong politicians, your Bill Clintons, who have known nothing but that one job their entire life, who know nothing but the cesspool of Washington, D.C. I want people who have built something or helped to build something and have been hands-on with money that was their own to lose, not somebody else's money to lose and nothing else happens as a byproduct of it. A damn oopsie daisy like a lot of these politicians have done with our money.
Contrast and compare. I think that the Democrats would never have assembled a group of people like this, even though the Democratic Party has a version of this chart that they could have made. There's a lot of extremely talented business people that support the Democratic Party. The problem is that they believe it's deeply unfashionable to get strong, competent business people to take a pause in their business career and come work in government. And you almost look down on people that are successful. Whereas the Republican alternative here,
That's a Marxist ideology, by the way. The anti-capitalist mentality that has been force-fed into the American ecosystem. Capitalism has been turned into a cuss word, and I despise that. I genuinely do, because the reason why, like I read a tweet where somebody said, so why is it that there aren't millions of people breaking into Cuba, Venezuela, or some of these other countries, right? Nobody is breaking into a socialistic or a communistic country at scale, unless they're trying to pass through that country to get to one that is a legitimate free market capitalistic society. Now, is this a perfect system? Absolutely not. Do we sometimes get crony capitalism that infiltrates? Yes. But most of the time that comes from the government stepping into places where they should not be, overregulation and things of that nature, where their hand is in the cookie jar where it's not supposed to be. That's when you oftentimes get the crony capitalist. And the politicians blame the business people. It's happened since millennia, but even more recently within the Great Depression, where the businessmen and the businesswomen were blamed for the collapse of the economy when it was the government who did it. But the government understands propaganda. They understand messaging more than anything else, because that's all they have, and that's all they ever have had. So when you find yourself in a situation where you finally have millionaires and billionaires, self-made, many of which self-made millions of billionaires who are running the ecosystem, at the very least, the competency aspect, they're going to have an understanding of how to run an economy. Most politicians are actually not very competent in running an economy, which sounds like a frightening prospect. They are theoretical. They are like professors who have never been in the business, but yet are teaching the business class. It doesn't make sense. It's like a fat doctor who smoke cigarettes.
Creates a movement, so to speak, so that subsequent presidents tap folks on the shoulder, I think we'll be much better off.
Isn't that what we've been waiting for? Like putting your politics aside, right? Like let's say 10 years ago when the Democrats were not completely insane, had they just started selecting people who were qualified and good, and had built things. But Chamath makes a good point. They resent success. Once they decided to go down that democratic socialism route that Bernie basically ushered in, once the base went crazy, we hate capitalism, which means we hate people who are successful. Well, hot damn, guys, people who are successful usually are pretty competent. So then you were left literally hiring people because they chopped their genitals off or because of their skin color, and they were not good at their jobs. That is what got us into this situation. So it's another good point. It's worth reiterating. It's not like, oh my God, look at all these people. They're all worth 100 million or a billion or 500 million or whatever it is. It's like, no, how did they get there? It's because they're actually qualified to do things. And how cool that some of these people, some of whom I know fairly well,
I would rather have somebody who knows what it is to lose their own money, to feel that pain, and to build it all up again. That's why I've got such a reverence for the business acumen of Donald Trump. It would be even less impressive. Imagine if he just went from those millions that he got in the beginning of his career from his pops, after earning his stripes, mind you, because his pops was a hard-nosed dude. He was a real-time New Yorker. He wasn't just going to give his kids any old money. Trump lost his brother to addiction. That's why he doesn't smoke or drink, right? That's why he's never indulged. And that's why he's got such a sharp mind, even in his older ages or later stages in life. Whereas cackling Queen Kamala, the brains are scrambled. The alcohol is not good for you. If you're on the alcohol and you get some help, or help yourself, because it's not doing you any service. But back to the point at hand is, if he went from millions to billions and that was the whole story, maybe you could say, okay, that's not as impressive. But the fact that he did lose money and was in a complete ditch of a situation, he was in a hole, a quandary, a situation, and got himself up out of that and rebuilt. Oh, well, he went bankrupt. Buddy, if you went bankrupt 2 times and you built your way up, I'm listening to you. If you went bankrupt 7 times and you end up being a billionaire, you're my only mentor at this point. What? You went bankrupt, and now you have sustained billions of dollars of equity within the last few decades? Oh, hey, okay. I'm taking notes. And so I get myself out of this emotionalized mentality of, well, but that's the white man, and that's the this, and that's the that. Get all of that out the way. If you just sit and learn from people who are doing the actual thing, there is so much to learn. My best professor, and I went to 3 JCs, dropped out of every single one of them. I was not made for that algorithm right there, right? I just wasn't. It was moving too slow for me. There was just too much sameness. I just couldn't do it, right? But the best professor I had was at a JC down in the Bay Area, West Valley College, I think it was. And what's it, man? Nah, it was definitely, it was De Anza. I'm in a business class, and it's probably my second week in there, and I end up getting like after class hours to talk to the professor. And I asked him, and mind you, this professor had built a $50 million SaaS company, sold the company, which is software as a service business. So taking that company, sold the company. And I asked him, so like if you're building a business around, let's say your writing, because I was, songwriting, things of that nature. Music was my main thing at that point in time. And I said, should I build the business first around the music, or should I build, should I work on the music? And he said, build the business around the music, like make the music the main thing. The product is always going to be the most important aspect of it. And then build the business as, obviously your fan base following grows, etc. And that piece of advice was more valuable than a multitude of professors combined who had never been in business, because this was a guy who built a product, a service, and ended up selling it. So he understood even things that are so practical. These theoretical things that are just out in the atmosphere mean nothing. A person who has had to go through the mud to build whatever they built will say that In order for me to turn this $1 into $2, I got to go through this process. I have to make a better product. I got to better market my product. I got to cut down expenses, which is why Doge is such a vital aspect of what's been added into the ecosystem, which is the Department of Government Efficiency, run by Elon and Vivek, Elon, that man right there, I trust with my entire bank account to quadruple and entample my money, okay? This is a guy who turned his $190 million made from PayPal, right, from zero. South African immigrant comes, creates this billion-dollar company. They sell it. He gets his $190 million, puts all his money into these two companies in the worst industries known to man, which is automobiles and spaceships. And the man is now worth $400 billion. I trust that man with my money. Cut what needs to be cut, put the money where the money needs to be put, and let's grow the economy. It's possible to have an abundance within those coffers, but we've gotten so used to debt, we don't even know what that looks like anymore. A company that is running on debt its entire life cycle will be non-existent unless you're in the Bay Area and your valuations and you get your funding. But even then, at some point, the company has to be profitable. Otherwise, it goes under. In government, unfortunately, they don't go under. They just make a new lie. They blame somebody else for the things that they did, and they continue to, to go on with their 50-year careers. Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Joe Pardon. That's your new name, Joe Pardon, because that man is racking them up. But anyway, appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'm out of here. I'm hungry as hell, so I'm about to get into the rest of my day. Till the next time, peace.
I used to be afraid of the dark, a place unknown like a heart in their heart. I used to see my life in the bar. Now the kids unchained, every shackle is lost. 2 steps in the moonlight, 2 step in the daytime. You just know when it feel right. You got a feeling the time's not. See you through those shades that I just threw on. Through my lenses, you just can't do no wrong. I fell in love with myself again. I fell in love with myself. I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 365, that's a